Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and this video is going to be a bit of a walk down memory lane for me. Today, as I'm recording this and as I'm posting the video, we've hit the 5-year anniversary of Final Fantasy 14. And I already had my 5-year sort of, I guess, celebration back in June. I started producing content before Final Fantasy 14 came out in anticipation for its launch, of course. And so my 5-year journey is passed by a few months. However, I want to talk a little bit about my memories about Final Fantasy 14 over the past 5 years, and I guess how my life has evolved over those last 5 years. So a pretty simple video, but I expect myself to ramble on because it's me, and you wouldn't be subscribed if you weren't used to that already. So 5 years of Final Fantasy 14, man. For me, it's been 8 years. September 27th, 2010. I went and picked up my collector's edition of 1.0. Little did I know that as miserable as an experience as that was going to be, because I spent the next 2 months leveling Pugilist to 50. We didn't even have Monk. We only had classes. We had Pugilist to 50. My level 50 skill was Simian Thrash, which I could only use upon evading an attack. Now, when I say evade, I don't mean step out of an AoE. I mean literally as if somebody swung at me and they missed. And oh my god, specifically evade. It didn't even count if it was a miss. It had to say the words that I evaded. And I was so excited and it was just so rough, but my journey really began there because I had stopped playing Final Fantasy 11. I ended up playing WoW for a few years after that. And I just didn't know what Final Fantasy 14 was going to mean to my life when I picked it up from the GameStop that day back in 2010. 2 months of playing, then leaving, then come back for a couple months and leave, then come back for a couple months. All the while, this whole Realm Reborn thing started to evolve, and I started to look towards that in the future. I'd always wanted to do YouTube. I was working in New York City as an internal tech support, and I had started producing a video here and there about some of the stuff that I had read about, and everything just started to evolve from there. I remember I lost that job because I think Vodafone bought out that company and fired 2/3 of the people who worked there, myself included, just to cut back on costs or to try and force the people who still work there to evolve a little bit. And so, yeah, it was rough times. I remember I didn't have anything to do and I just started making more YouTube videos. And I got involved in the charity Gaming for Good, which works with Save the Children Foundation. I've established a great friendship with that organization, Save the Children, and continued to speak with and work with them over the years, over various events. And what I didn't know is that was going to lead to me getting a YouTube contract. Athene Live, best paladin in the world, set me up with a contract because I was doing charity streams for Gaming for Good, which, he is in charge of. And so that sent me down a journey where, just everything started getting crazy. But right before that, too, I had played Ragnarok Online 2. I was waiting for Final Fantasy 14, Realm Reborn, but Ragnarok Online 2 had come out. A few of my friends from my hometown did, and I met this wonderful woman on Ragnarok Online 2. I met my girlfriend, who I've now been together with for 5 years on that game. And it's been a roller coaster journey that I've put her through as well. So big shout out to her, because when I was getting into this whole thing with, the charity, when I was starting to make YouTube videos, when I was starting to say, you know what, maybe if I just put a little more effort into this, I can do it full time. She was always the one who was there and who was backing me up. She always believed in me, and I didn't believe in myself probably about 90% of the time. She was the one who was carrying that. So if you enjoy my content today, you really have her to thank for it. And that's just the God's honest truth. But then, over the next years after Final Fantasy 14 got closer to launch, and then it launched, and then 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, I realized how little, I guess, I kind of belonged in a sense. And I know that seems weird. Everyone says, oh, Mr. Happy, he's the Final Fantasy 14 guy. He's the Tally of 14. I hear all sorts of different analogies, but I never really ever felt like I belonged. And that's because I didn't know how to belong. And I still kind of don't know how to belong. I really enjoy what I do, but ever since then, I guess I had developed this sort of arrogance about me. And I even had to go so far as, after months and months and months of just making mistake after dumb mistake after dumb mistake, letting people get to me and letting them make me so angry that I said dumb things and I did dumb things and I saying I believed in dumb things, and just so many problems. Final Fantasy 14 eventually was where my arrogance showed, and where I learned of my own arrogance that I probably had for my entire life before then. And with the help of my girlfriend, and with the help of the game, and I guess with the help of the people who cared about me, who would send me messages, be like, hey man, I hope everything's okay because you were like this today. And then after enough of those messages, just kind of hitting this point where I realized I could still be me, but I needed to be a less arrogant me, because I was hurting myself mentally. I was hurting myself from like I was gonna say physically, but that's not what I mean. But I guess I kind of didn't care about myself physically, more so is what I mean. And I still kind of suffer from that today. And it just made me realize that there was just this lack of appreciation for myself over all those years. And so, Final Fantasy 14 over these 5 years has helped me realize that. It's helped me patch up a lot of, I guess, chinks in my armor. And it really is that. It is an armor, because when I go into these types of YouTube videos and recordings and meeting people in public, I put up an armor, because I don't want, I guess I'm afraid of not having that armor. And Final Fantasy 14 helped me realize, that I had this protection over me, and I wasn't actually doing anything to make it better. And I've gotten better over the years because of that. So, Final Fantasy 14 over those 5 years, man, between that and just the other experience I've had, like, you have to realize Final Fantasy 14 helped me with my mental health, personality problems. I moved out of my parents' house with the work that I did on Final Fantasy 14. I eventually moved out of New Jersey, moved in with a girlfriend who I'd been with for 5 years. I moved to LA, then I moved to San Diego, then I moved back to LA, where I am currently. I've gone through 3 different places, at least this apartment. I've experienced all sorts of things. I've traveled to Seattle, to Canada, to Boston, to Texas, to, a bunch of other places, like smaller trips that aren't as major events. I've gone to all these places. I've seen so many things, and it's all been because of it's just been while I've played Final Fantasy 14. Like, the 5 years of 14, people look at the patches and they look at, things getting stale or stagnant, or, them not innovating enough. I look at Final Fantasy 14 and I see those things, but it's not what I'm thinking about when I think of 5 years of Final Fantasy 14. I think of how much my life has evolved in those 5 years, and how much the 14 and the community has been what has propelled that. It's not been easy, man. I've gone through some of the hardest times of my life over, my career choice, over, the people who have harassed me over the years, or the people who still continue to harass me. But at the same time, just so much good has come out of it that I just have to be grateful for it on a day where we're talking about just so much in terms of emotion, in terms of what happened earlier this year. It's been the toughest year of my life. I don't think it really surprises anyone to make that statement. And having this, I'm trying not to cry. I'm leaving it all in. I don't care. Since March, it's just 14, even 11. A lot of 11. I know we're talking about 14 a lot here, but a lot of 11 has helped me with a little bit of nostalgia and kind of taking my mind back to simpler times. It's been incredible, And, I look at certain things and, man, it's crazy. It's so hard to find the words for it now that I had so many things perfectly planned. And as soon as I turned the camera on, it just got a whole lot harder. Man, I look at I have something in front of me and I want to just share it with you guys. I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. And, because it doesn't really serve to a point of how 14, it's just like something that it's a nice little reminder of something I want to say. Okay, so when I said I was going to do this 5 years ago, obviously my parents didn't understand shit. I didn't even understand it. Let's be real. I didn't even understand it. My family, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, nobody understood it. But you know what? My father, he said that he didn't get it, but he knew I'd always made good decisions in the past. So if I thought this decision was a good decision, he was going to support it in every way possible. Over the years, every time I visited New Jersey, every time I heard from him, he was always telling somebody, oh, my son's famous. Oh, my son's a celebrity. Oh, my son plays video games for he just this aura of proudness, this thing that not only did I prove to him that it was something that could work, but that it was something that he just couldn't comprehend. Like, he had to talk about it with people. And that never ended, you know? And man, when I lost him earlier this year, it was tough. I never really got to thank him for it, you know? But my mother sent me this. And this is tough to look at. This actually sits behind me on the stream every day. Nobody sees it, but I see it. And you know, that's him. In case you're wondering, oddly enough, I'm sitting next to my uncle, and my cousin is sitting next to my father. I don't know why we did it like that, but that's just the way it ended up working out. And to think, man, 5 years. Oh man, I would have loved to have shared it with him, but luckily, I have you guys to share it with, and I can't really ask for much more than that right now. You know, it's meant a lot. So I wanted to make this video and thank everyone for not only supporting me for the last 5 years, but those of you who have supported, and even those of you who have criticized and who have you know, not always made my life the easiest, but it's been a very real experience. It's been a very life-altering experience in the best of ways, even during the hardest of times. So I know he would thank you. I know I'm thanking you. And I don't really know how to put words out of my mouth anymore. So I think I should probably just end the video here. I will say this, though. All this leads into something I do want to include. You know, YouTube, you can't make a video just for the sake of saying that that you're doing an event on another platform. So as hard as it is to include it after what I just had to say, I have to include it somewhere. On the 27th, you know, you're probably watching it today. If you're watching this on the 27th, then we're hosting a subathon where we're going to be doing all sorts of huge events, or we're going to be reminiscing over all sorts of huge events over the last 5 years. For Final Fantasy 14, we're going to be watching world first videos. We're going to be recapping on stories. We'll probably hop in and do some current stuff like some Pagos or some Animos. You know, I have a challenge log that needs finishing. I'm almost 35. I have a relic that needs to be made. You know, I've got all those sorts of things. But I just wanted to let you guys know that's going to be starting August 27th at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're watching this and it is August 27th, be sure to hop into the Twitch channel and just say hi. And feel free to share some of your memories. And if you have memories of Final Fantasy 14 over the last 5 years, ways that your life has changed, maybe a spouse you've met, someone you've proposed to, friends that you've made, experience you've had, share those in the comment section, because there's always a lot of negativity. A lot of the times, those of us with positive experiences, we don't spend the time to speak up, or we don't spend the time to talk about those things. We focus on the things we don't like. Let's take this opportunity to focus on the things we do like and focus on the things we'd like to see going forward, and to focus on the positive experiences we've had so far. So thank you to everyone who's watched this video. That's me signing off. So I'm going to go cry myself a big river right now. And you guys, I'll see you in the next video or on the Twitch stream. So I'll see you guys in the next one. And until then, take care.